So, welcome back to this chapter, or I keep saying chapter, I mean to say section on pH and pOH. I will mention that pH is by far the much more useful calculation. So, you know, when there was a part in my life where I worked at like a hotel and I used to maintain the pool. So I don't know if you guys ever think about this, but swimming pools at like hotels and compounds, apartment buildings, whatever, they have a delicate kind of chemical balance. You know, they chlorinate the water to kill bacteria and they maintain the pH. And part of my job there was maintaining the pH of the pool. And the reason I'm bringing that up is for you guys, you know, in medical science or engineering, pH is the most useful number. I don't know if you'll ever I hate saying the word real life, but in a job, talk about pOH. So it's, you know, if you can learn one thing from this section, it's what is pH and how to calculate it. And this example we did yesterday, I don't really bother with this part in the middle. I just do a very simple calculation. So let's practice. Let's look at some. I didn't do these two yesterday. So how about for a little warm up today, I will do question A. You guys try question B. And these are very simple questions. They would be no different on a test or final exam. Very, very simple types of questions. And oh, my calculator. Okay, my calculator is dying slowly, but it will work. Speaking of calculators, make sure you have a calculator, or you can borrow one, or buy one. This is not something you can do. I mean, you can do it on a cell phone, but it's much harder, and you're going to need a scientific calculator for tests and finals. So let me show you how this works. Very simple question. I know the answers are here, but let's pretend they're not. I'll do A with you. So this is clearly an acid. And the rule for acids, let me just write this up in the top corner. The rule for acids, and it's really important that you understand that this is for acids, is that the concentration of the acid, and well, okay, I'll mention something there, but anyways, is the concentration of H plus or H3O plus. Just remember that H plus and H3O plus it's the same thing. It kind of depends on, you know, what book you're looking at or who your instructor is. I'm an H3O, person. Sorry, guys. Okay, sorry. So one thing I'll mention is that this only works for strong acids. And this is what we're going to be using in 1121. We're not going to deal with weak acids in 1121. So all you need to know for this course is the concentration of your acid is equal to the concentration of the hydrogen ion. So why is that important? Well, the formula in your data booklet says that pH is equal to the negative logarithm of H plus or the negative logarithm of H3O plus. Again, I cannot stress this enough. They are the same number. It's just, again, who your instructor is or what textbook or website you're looking at. Okay, so this is the easiest question ever. Just like you would see on a final exam, pH is negative logarithm of 3.68 times 10 to the minus 1. There's no units for pH. I can't remember who asked that yesterday, but there's no units. So, oops, sorry. I'm just going to put this in on my calculator. So really important that you don't forget the negative. So I go negative log, and then I put in my number. And I'm going to use scientific notation. So I'm going to be very careful with entering this in my calculator. And I end up getting the number. And again, don't worry about significant figures, but 0.434. Halas, that's it. So like, I know I wrote a lot on the slide. It looks like I wrote a lot of information, but honestly, the only thing you need to take away from this is this part here. That's it. Okay, that's it. So what's going on in the chat? Okay, Hadil asks, sorry, I got I got a private message from somebody, I won't say their name, about the test. We're going to talk about the test at the end of today's class. We need to have the test soon. The other class are having theirs on Sunday, which is too soon for us, of course, but we'll talk about the test at the end of the class. I'm thinking maybe Tuesday or Thursday next week. I'll see what works best for you guys. Tuesday would be in 1 week, and then Thursday you'd have a couple extra days to study. So we'll talk about that at the end. I also had an email about the test from a student, and I don't think I got back to them. The test will be on chapters 3 and 4. And we will finish chapter 4 on Thursday. So we'll be done this tomorrow. Not tomorrow, on Thursday. Okay, so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We'll talk about this at the end of class, so save the test talk for the end of class. But I want you guys to try this one. And really, all I'm looking for is that you can do this on a calculator. You can use your cell phones. It might be a little challenging, but just try this out right now. I'll give you literally, I'll give you 1 minute. You only need 1 minute to do this. So I will be back in 1 minute, and we'll see if your answers are correct. Again, all I'm looking for here is to see if you guys can use your calculators. All right, guys, so let's look at the answer. A student just raised their hand. I don't know if that was an accident, but if you have a question, let me know. And the other thing is, don't stress out too much about significant figures here. You know, just write 3 or 4 numbers and you'll be fine. So pH is negative log of the concentration. So it's 4.743 times 10 to the minus 7. Now, if you forget the 10 to the minus 7, it's really going to mess up your answers. Now, you guys, I know you guys have the answer, but I'm just going to put it in on my calculator. I don't know why. I trust you, but I just like to see it for myself sometimes to make sure I'm not a crazy person. And I get 6.323946, blah, blah, blah. So 6.324 would be the technical fancy answer. But again, if you said 6.32, I'm a happy person. Typically in chemistry 1121, you're going to be dealing with 3 or 4 sig figs. So just keep that in mind. You know, don't round your number to 1 decimal place, or sorry, don't round your number to like 6, and don't write like 1,000,000 decimals. I don't need to see 1,000 numbers.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So the process only I put this number on the calculator with minus log.
Sorry?
So I put the number on the calculator with the minus log. You know,
Yes.
I put negative log and then the number.
Yes. Yep.
That's all.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's a good question. So like, yeah, the negative is really important. So you use your negative button on your calculator, and then like, I wish we were in the classroom. I could kind of show you my calculator, but you would just press negative log number equals, negative log number equals.
So with all the question for pH, I use negative.
Yep, always negative.
Okay,
Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I have a message in the chat from Abdullah. I think that's, we'll talk about that at the end, but if you have a math test on Tuesday, then Thursday sounds like a good option. But again, we will talk about the test at the end. Okay, continuing on. Okay, so POH, I'm going to go a little quick through this, and not because it's not important in the course, but it's the same thing. There's one little trick to this that I'll mention for you. Okay, so actually, sorry, before I get into this, I have another question in the chat. The PowerPoints that are on the D2L, I've changed them a little bit for myself. So you should kind of follow along with what I'm doing in class. So Iman in the chat mentions that if you look at the PowerPoint on D2L, there's an extra step. It is not required. Okay, so you do not need to do it. Whatever I write down is kind of all you need to do. Good question. Most units are good, but I found this unit, the notes could use a little improvement. So I've kind of edited them. Okay, so pH and pOH. If pH is negative log of the hydrogen ion, well, what do you think pOH is? Well, pOH is, of course, the negative log of the OH ion. This is a measure for bases. Now, again, a big disclaimer here. This is, if you go work at RasGas or Qatar Petroleum, or you're, a medical lab technician and you're dealing with the pH at the, Hamad or something, you typically use pH, not pOH. So we'll go pretty quick through this. There is, of course, no unit for pH or pOH, and the units for this are molarity. Mathematically, it gets a little confusing as to why pOH doesn't have units. It has to do with logarithms and what happens to the units. Don't worry about it. Just remember that pH and pOH have no units. Okay, so let's look at this example. Now, there is a catch to this, and there's a big wink, wink moment coming up in the next slide or two. There is a trick that can happen with bases, and I'm going to show you. Okay, there's something you need to watch out for, and I'm only saying wink, wink. I haven't made your test or anything. I haven't seen your final, but there is a wink, wink coming up about a question that you could be asked. So, first of all, let's look at this example. pH is the negative log of OH minus, okay, easy. So if I have a basic solution and I know my concentration of OH, you just put it in the equation. I didn't get a chance to see who was talking a few minutes ago, but it's still the same thing. It's still negative log of the number, no change, right? That's it, easy, easy, don't need to worry about it. But there is a catch. So let's look at some practice. And this is my wink, wink moment. This is like a half wink. If I could do a half wink. I do not know if this is on a test or final. Again, they haven't been created yet, but I've seen this on a test and I have seen this on a final exam. So be careful with this one. Okay, so let's take our time and look at this. A solution of barium hydroxide has a concentration of 1.46 times 10 to the minus 3. Okay, pretty easy. What is the pOH? Well, this question looks easy, right? You're thinking, all right, pH is, or sorry, not pH. pOH is the negative logarithm of the concentration of OH minus, right? That's easy. But here's something special about bases. Think about this chemical, BaOH2. When this chemical gets dissolved, so say that this is solid, and this chemical gets dissolved in water, we get barium 2 plus, but we get 2 hydroxides. And you're not expected to write this equation. I don't even think in this course you're ever expected to write an equation, but there's something special here. The Ba has 2 hydroxides. So there are 2 steps to this question. Okay. Now, if you were doing this on a test or final and you forgot this extra step, you would lose half of a mark. You wouldn't get a 0. Don't worry. But if you want that 100%, you have to be careful. Now I'm going to erase the formula because, again, you don't need to write the formula, don't worry. But step number 1, and this only applies to bases, so this is only for bases. The concentration of OH minus is 2 times 1.46 times 10 to the minus 3. Again, some of you might be wondering, where did the 2 come from? Let me get my fancy pretty highlighter here. Okay, you do not do this for acids. Okay, write that down, make a note of it, put it in your brain. Do not do this for acids. This only counts for bases. All right, so let's finish this off. I'm going to get you guys to do a bit of practice, and then we're almost done. 1.46. Sorry. I always talk to myself when I put my numbers in like a crazy person. Okay. So you would get 2.92 times 10 to the minus 3. When I multiply that by 2, that's step 1. Step 2, same as always, pH is negative log of this number. Okay, so here we go. Negative log 2.92 exponent negative 3. And you get 2.535. Oops, guys, I didn't mean to write pH. I'm sure somebody mentioned that in the chat. Force of habit. I mean, you can tell. The fact that I made that mistake and wrote pH is because you really don't use pH too much in real life. All right, let me read a couple things here. Oh, Mom mentioned she doesn't like tricks. I find tricks are okay if you can remember them. Abdul Halim is correct. Yes, you did see a similar question in the lab. You multiply it by 2. And Aman mentions that the unit, yes, so the unit for step 1 is M. But I didn't put the M in because there are no units here. So I figured if the answer has no units, then we don't really care about units. But yeah, thanks guys for bringing up units. That's I'm glad that your brain is kind of thinking about units. In my, like, I think 8.5 years at the college, most of my students don't care about units. So it kind of does make me happy that you're thinking about units. So the units for step 1 are M. But if I was marking this on a test, I wouldn't, I wouldn't take marks off. All I'm looking for is this guy here. Okay. Whew. All right, let's see what's coming up next. I think we might almost be done here. Yeah, I got a practice problem, and then that's it. Again, you'll notice there's a couple extra slides on the D2L PowerPoint, but I've kind of edited this to make it a little more simple. So guys, it's 3:57. I would love for you guys to try these two. These are good examples of test questions. Okay, so I'll give you 3 or 4 minutes, so maybe around 4 o'clock, 4:01, 4:02, something like that. We'll look at the answers to these. Just be careful of this and this. All right, I will be back in 3 or 4 minutes. We'll check the answers, and then we'll move on to the next section. All right, be right back. Okay, let's have a little look at these answers. I got some private messages, so there's more answers than appears here. Oh, okay. So one of the private messages is actually really good. It's if these are bases, what's going on with the numbers? Why are the numbers bigger than 7? This is where you can really get yourself confused. But that's a beautiful question. So let's look at the answers, and I'll kind of talk about what's going on with that number. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't. Okay, well, let's do these quick because, I mean, number or letter A is, whoops, let me get my pen. Letter A is easy. P is, oh, I did it again. POH is negative log of this number. That's it. Okay, no units, just write the number. So I don't know why I'm obsessed with using my own calculator. So here we go. Okay, so I get 5.43 as my POH. Is that what you guys got? Did I do that right? Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so what about B? B has a catch to it, of course, or the trick, as I said earlier. The first thing I need to do with B is I do need to multiply the 3.314 by 2. And the reason is because this chemical has 2 hydroxides in it. You actually did this a little bit in chemistry 1120. So like in theory, this is review, but don't worry. I don't expect you guys to remember everything from 1120. I'm realistic. So just, if it's OH2, multiply it by 2. If it's OH1, keep it the same, or technically multiply it by 1. Step 2, POH, I remembered this time, negative log 6.628 times 10 to the minus 5. And here we go. Oh, I'm going to try something really tricky. I'm probably going to regret it. Nope, it worked. 4 point, how many sig figs? 4 sig figs. So technically, guys, with sig figs, this would be 1786. But again, don't worry. Don't worry. Just 4.17, 4.18. That's perfect. 4.179. I don't care. All perfect. Whatever you write is good for me. Just don't say 4. Don't say 4. Give me a couple of decimal places and I will be a very happy man. Okay, so before I move in, and we'll, again, as usual, we'll just kind of introduce the next section. The good news for you guys is I heard you don't have a lab this week, so I think the first time in the history of Chemistry 1120, next week you guys will be ready for your lab. You'll have all of the information for it. It's a really cool lab. So I want to answer that question that I got as a private message. Okay, well, now there's 2 questions. So let me do Aman's. Okay, so I got 3 questions. I'm getting private messages here. I have 3 questions. Hold on now. Oh my gosh, my chat is going crazy. I got a million messages here and they're all private, so you guys can't see them. First, let me address the public question. Aman said, if we have an acid with 2 H's, do you need to multiply it by 2? The answer is no. This is only for bases. There's a very complicated reason why you don't do it for acids. So acids, it's the negative log of the concentration of the acid. Done. Don't multiply it by anything. For bases, multiply it by the number of OHs. There might be 1, there might be 2. Okay, so that answers Aman's question. Then I have a few students asking me the same question, which is a beautiful question. Why isn't the pH bigger than 7? What is going on, right? We're breaking the rules here of what I told you earlier, or it seems like we're breaking the rules. So for pH, the scale of pH, right? You have 7, you have acid down here and base up here. Guys, this is all you need to know. Just this is make sure you know that scale. 0 to 6.9 would be acidic. 7.1 to 14 would be basic. Easy. When you do POH, it's the reverse. So if you went from 0 to 14, and of course 7's in the middle, base is down here, acid is up here. Don't waste your time memorizing that, but it is good to know, but don't waste your time trying to memorize that. So the private messages I got were, if these are basic solutions, why aren't they bigger than 7? The answer is because we're looking at pOH. And the pOH scale is the flip or the reverse. And I know that sounds confusing, right? But don't stress out about it. The only scale you guys need to know is our good friend, the pH scale. All right, cool. I got another private message, makes sense. Now I got another really long message. Yeah. Okay, so the message, I won't say the student's name, but the message is about the test. If you guys have a math test on Tuesday, I'm not going to make your test on Tuesday. Don't worry. If you guys give me, let me look at my phone here. Oh, it's 4:08. Oh man, time goes so quick with you guys. If you give me 5 minutes to introduce the next section, we'll obviously finish this section on Thursday, so you'll be ready for your lab. Give me 5 minutes to finish the next section, and we'll talk about your test. But it's looking to me like if you guys have a test on Thursday, or sorry, a test on Tuesday, a math test, I wouldn't make you have the chemistry the same day. That would be crazy. Okay, so give me 5 minutes to introduce the next section, and then halas, we are done. You guys, like time goes so fast, it's crazy. I teach so many sections of this course called SD, and it seems like time goes like in like slow, like an hour with them seems like 6 hours, because they don't ask questions, they just sit there like lumps, and I have to like talk. So I appreciate it, but time goes so fast. So the next section, just give me a couple minutes to introduce this, is on something that you guys might have heard of before, maybe. Have any of you heard of in high school, or maybe some science courses that you did, the term titration?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay, cool. It sounds scary. It's actually not. Titrations are, in theory, a review of 1120 when you guys did stoichiometry, if you remember that. Chemistry 1120, you guys looked at mole ratios, and sorry, sorry, I'm not sick. I just got something in my throat. You looked at mole ratios, and you looked at calculating mass and molar mass. This is the exact same thing, but we're going to use concentration. So this is actually a pretty cool section. There's really nothing hard in this section at all. It's actually really, really, well, I don't want to say easy, but straightforward. So before we get into titrations, and titrations, guys, will be your lab number 7. Before we get into that, I think today I just want to talk about indicators, and then I'm done. So give me 4 quick slides, and halas, we're done, and it won't take long. Okay, 4 slides. It's really straightforward. So remember from 1120, and of course remember from chemistry 1121, the pH measures how acidic or basic a chemical is, right? We know that. And pH, guys, is your big one. You might have a multiple choice about pOH, but pH is the unit, or the variable, I guess I want to say, that is most important. Acids have a pH of less than 7.
Sir,
Yes?
share your screen, sir.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Yeah, I opened up a new PowerPoint, that's why. Well, that doesn't make sense for me, because on the previous slide, I did this. I circled this term here. So titration is lab number 7, and it's nothing new. It's actually a review from 1120. So it's really, I don't want to say easy, but if you can remember anything from 1120, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so back to this. pH is a measure of how acidic or basic a chemical is. Acids are less than 7, bases are greater than 7. pOH scale is different. But don't worry about the pOH scale. I'm not going to ask you about that. Neither will Mr. Robin, the other instructor. So this is really cool. In, you know, in a real life situation, how can we easily calculate the pH of something? Like, how would I find the pH of lemon juice? Or more importantly, you know, a swimming pool. I say importantly because, you know, there's every swimming pool in this country has somebody monitoring the pH. Lab technicians in the hospital might measure the pH of a person's blood or breath. Engineering and people, you might measure the pH of the oil and gas or runoff or water that you're using in a refinery or a you know, a oil extraction. I'm trying to, like an oil drill or an oil platform, you might monitor pH. And one of the two ways to do that, there's two ways. One is to use what's called an indicator. That's a really cool and simple way to do this. And you looked at indicators in the last lab. And the other way is to do a titration. So all I want to mention for you guys today is an indicator. Indicators are chemicals that are sensitive to pH and they change color based on the pH. Cabbage juice or universal indicator, there's the two that are very common. They are an indicator that changes color over the full range. So you can use red cabbage juice. You could go to Monoprix or Lulu, pick up a red cabbage, boil it and take the water. And you could do this in your kitchen. You could make your own indicator. It's amazing. So a chemical indicator is a chemical that changes color over a pH range. So look at these three indicators that we use in the lab a lot. There's litmus paper. Litmus is a little piece of paper. It tends to turn red in acid, blue in base. I don't know if you guys can remember that at the very beginning of chapter 4. I mentioned blue base. That's for litmus. There's another indicator that we use called methyl orange. Methyl orange is an indicator that would turn red when the pH is 3.2 and yellow when the pH is over 4.4. Now, those are both acidic numbers, but it's still a useful indicator. We can tell if, for example, if you test a solution and it's red, then it must have a pH of less than 3.2. If you test a chemical and the pH and it's yellow, it must be bigger than 4.4. And then the big one, my favorite, I'll draw little hearts for my eyes. Phenolphthalein. Very crazy word to spell. Don't worry, you don't have to spell it. This is the classic. Every chemistry student on Earth uses phenolphthalein at some point, and you guys you might not know it, but you've already used phenolphthalein like 3 times. You used it in 1120. You used it in 1121, at least in the equilibrium lab, and maybe last week. So this is the classic indicator. Phenolphthalein is colorless, less than 8.2, and pink, a beautiful bright pink, greater than 10. Okay, so I got one question. Oh, well, this is a silly question, but we might as well do it. What color is phenolphthalein in an acid? What color is methyl orange in a base? Okay, phenolphthalein in an acid, methyl orange in a base. So let me clear my screen. It's asking for what color is it in an acid, phenolphthalein, what color is it in a base? Now, guys, you do not have to memorize this. If you got this question on a test, we would give you this information. You do not need to memorize pH ranges. Like, that would be insane. So I've got some messages in the chat up there, and I hope you guys are right. Methyl orange in a base would be yellow. Phenolphthalein in an acid would be colorless. You can't say clear and you can't say white. It's actually colorless. White is not colorless. White is a color. So you would say colorless. You'll see this in lab 7 if you can't remember. I love lab 7. I wish I could be there. Okay, so the answers to these questions are acidic, you would have colorless. Methyl orange and base would be yellow. Easy. All right, guys, if you can believe it, I have 9 messages. Wow. Okay, I got a lot of good messages. Aman, you might have a question like this. I'm starting from the bottom of the chat. So once I have made your test, myself and the other instructor are going to use the same kind of test, a couple things different. So they're, because they're doing their test on Sunday. We're not going to do ours on Sunday. So I'll change some numbers and things. But Aman, I just mentioned that if I asked you this on a test, I would give you this information. Okay, you do not have to memorize pH ranges. If you were asked this, I would give you the information. Okay, let me go back up to the top. A couple messages about not seeing my screen. And then a couple answers to the question. So Aaron and Mohammed, that's good. Aaron said colorless and yellow. Mohammed said gray, but I knew that you mean colorless and then yellow. That's awesome. Don't say gray. Say colorless, because gray is a color. Like the difference between white and gray and colorless, think of water and milk. Milk is white, water is colorless. Gray, I can't think of anything that you would eat that's gray, like maybe a gross smoothie or something, right? I don't know. We don't eat many gray things, do we? I think biologically, if you see something gray, your body is like, nah, I'm not going to eat anything gray today. But if you're tempted to say white, think of milk and colorless as water, okay? Okay, I have another question. An Oreo milkshake, Iman, is gray. You're right. A gray with black specks, which is kind of gross, but we all know it is secretly delicious. Or an Oreo Blizzard from Dairy Queen, one of my favorite things. Anyways, I got a private message. I can do this after class. Somebody asked me to repeat the pH ranges. I can do that after class, but it's 4:20 right now. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer. We need to have test number 2. Dun, 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 your last test. And it will be on units 3 and 4. And for now, it will be on campus. I know there are some COVID outbreaks on campus, so I will keep you posted. So the options are Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And I think Thursday works best for everybody. Let me just check the chat in a second. I want to look at my calendar and get the date here. This will be an easier test than test number 1, by the way. I personally feel that chapters 3 and 4 are easier than test 1. So why can't I figure out the dates? What day is it today? 16. So your test will be on the 25th. All right, let me check the chat before I get in trouble here. There's a lot of messages. Thursday's perfect. Thursday's perfect. Thursday's perfect. I love it. I love it when a test works out like this. So you guys can do your math 1700 on Tuesday, and then you'll have a couple of nights to study for chemistry. I will have review before your test. Now, I do want to mention one thing before you all leave me. Okay, don't leave me yet. We're getting to the end of the semester. There's not a lot of time left, but I want to do review. So I might set up a review tutorial on like Wednesday night, and I will post that on YouTube if you can't make it. So what I mean is next Tuesday, we might have to do a little bit of material, but I do 110% want to have a tutorial. So what I'm thinking is maybe Wednesday next week, so the 24th in the evening, you know, maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, I will have a optional tutorial, and I will immediately post it to YouTube if anybody can't make it. So I promise you, fingers crossed, or not fingers crossed is not the right thing to say. In Canada, we would say Scout's honor, which is like you're giving, you know, it's the most sincere of promises. I will have a tutorial next week. Okay, guys, so that's it for me today. We will have a tutorial next week. We will have your test on Thursday. It's on chapters 3 and 5, and we are finished. Abdullah Lim, Ali, Iman, Abdullah, everybody, Harold, Noor, Hadil, have a great day. Aaron, I'm sorry if I miss anybody. Mohammed, Yasmin, everybody, have a great day. And if I didn't say your name, I apologize. Abdullah, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Keep safe, keep hydrated. See you later. Thank you, Doreen. I didn't see you there. Thanks, Manal. Ali, thank you. And Hadil, if you had a question, you can stick around and let me know. But other than that, have a great day. Take care.